welcome to the Alley Report. Today we're talking to the great Damien Casey, author of Red Ice, 51, Pup, and a ton of other stuff you should be reading. Thanks for coming on here.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm stoked. Also,
Yeah,
I want to compliment your blanket. It looks like, what is that behind you?
it's the Universal
Yeah, nice.
Monsters. I
Hell
love it.
yeah. I thought it was Frankenstein. I was stoked. Nice.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotta have the classics. And
Yeah, absolutely.
in honor of your book Red Ice, I'm wearing my Live, Laugh, and Lurk Mothman shirt. So
Nice. Thank you. Well, I acted like I'm the Mothman. Thank you for representing me, the Mothman.
in my eyes, you're somehow connected to all cryptids in West Virginia. So.
There's such a small circle that it makes sense. I thought I just saw one out of my window, but it was a vulture. That was creepy. Um, why is there a vulture in my backyard? I don't know. I'm not gonna go look. I'm too scared. Anyway, yeah, like it's a very small circle for cryptids and things where I live. I think I'm like a half hour from where the Injured Cold happened, 20 minutes from the Mothman, a couple hours from the Frogman. Pretty
That's
small circle.
that's amazing. Why do you think West Virginia is all concentrated in such a small area? Like,
I think boredom, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe some of it that's made up is people, that are bored, so they see something and they say it's that. I shouldn't say that because I kind of believe in all of it. I even kind of believe in sheep squatch. So maybe they just hang out here because like there's nothing going on and they're just like this is easy enough.
yeah,
It's quiet. Nobody's bothering me if I hang out in these woods.
you're gonna leave me be. Maybe take a blurry photo or
Yeah,
two and
right.
move on.
Right. Exactly.
Um, well, yeah, you got speaking of cryptids, that you've covered Mothman and Red Ice, which I loved, and then in 28 Days Sasser, it was Bigfoot and the Hopkinsville Goblins. Is there any you
Absolutely.
haven't? Is there any you haven't that you want to like cover in a future book?
Uh so that's a really good question actually. And I guess I'll just like no, I guess it's not really spoilers. So in Red Ice, obviously, yeah, there's spoilers here if you haven't read Red Ice, which it's the first. Anyway, spoiler alert. Fast forward like 30 seconds, and I'll say it real fast. Anyway, so Artie Arcane died in Red Ice, and there was mention of like the Squonk and Black Eyed Children, which I wrote in my kids series for Artie Arcane, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, my plans with that, which I haven't really gone that in depth with anybody about, is I kind of want to tie it all together. And my next book in that series after Malignant is going to be called Appalachian Dinosaur Cult. And it's actually kind of like a tribute to Carnosaur, one of my favorite books of all time. And it's actually features Flatwoods Monster and the Vegetable Man, both from West Virginia.
Okay, I don't think I know Vegetable Man. It seems
Vegetable
unlikely.
Man. Vegetable Man is basically just like my cat is fighting me now. That's why I'm leaning forward. She's biting me, and I'm trying to resist the urge to yelp in pain.
The special
Whew.
guest.
Okay. Anyway, um, so the Vegetable Man is really, really like funny because it's just like this guy was farming, and he said this guy came out of a UFO, and he looked like a giant celery stick, and like stole some of his like corn on the cob and left. And I was like, that's
That's
pretty
amazing.
sinister, honestly. I
I
talked
feel
about
like
him. Go ahead.
oh sorry, I feel like pre-80s, like before we all settled on all aliens are the Greys.
Happened. She got
Your
the
cat took him
phone.
down.
She got the phone. Verity, come on. What are you doing, Verity? Yeah, I feel like before the 80s, it was all grays, and then it kind of like morphed into kind of being like Bigfoot more so. And then it got really weird. I feel like,
Yeah. Like I love the mantis people. That's my favorite is the giant mantis people.
oh man, the mantis is so cool, right? Like giant mantis aliens. Like
Yeah.
imagine looking out of your window and there's just a giant praying mantis out there in a flying saucer.
Yeah. And yeah, because the Greys are all right. Guess they are horrifying in their own way, but I just love when it's like, all right, it's a guy with like he's 8 feet tall and he has a giant spike in the middle of his face for no reason. Like that.
Yeah, are you familiar with the oh I wanted to say Braxton, but that's Flatwoods Monster. Grafton. The Grafton monster.
Yes. Yeah.
He's just a big old boy. He's just a big white fur ball. Like he's just crazy looking. He has no neck, so it might just
Yeah.
be Big Ed.
He's basically that bad guy, that monster from Looney Tunes that Bugs Bunny fights sometimes, except he's white instead of red. He's just that guy.
Yeah, he is. He really is. Maybe that's where they got the idea from. Maybe that's what it was, like a outfit that someone was trying to make like
Yeah.
that, and they
And
had to
somebody saw
paint
it and
it.
it blew up from there.
Yeah, that would be the coolest thing ever. Honestly, just like accidentally spark like a cryptid. I keep flirting with the idea of making one up for the Ohio River, so I could just like
I mean,
make it up and then have a festival for it. But I feel like that would be sus if people are like, he made it up, but he's also doing the festival.
I would just I would say go for it. I mean, like the guy that first reported the black-eyed children, like they found his anonymous post on an online thing where he was like, "I'm gonna make up a thing." By
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
he did it.
totally. Yeah. So there's my dog barking at. She hates the quick note to anybody who's like, why was that dog freaking out? That she hates these like cars that drive by. They're like four-wheeler cars because we live in the country. I don't know why she hates them so much, but she barks at every single one of them, and it's summer. So I let her have her fun, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, the black-eyed children kind of creep me out a little bit, actually. Like I actually have, after Appalachian Dinosaur called, I'm planning to do one called Black Eye, which is about black-eyed children.
Yeah,
So
it's scary.
I'm trying to polish up my like creepy writing a
Yeah,
little bit on that because I'm not quite my writing isn't quite to the point where I think I can creep people out. I'm confident in making people roll their eyes and say that was a little dumb, but maybe not and going like, "Ugh, a little creepy, a little weird."
yeah. I think I feel like 51 had some creepy stuff. Yeah, but yeah, like the Black Eyed Kids, and also it's good lore because there's so little known about it. Like, why are they there? Why do they need your permission to come in? Like, do they
Yeah,
have
there's
mind control
like
powers?
relatively nothing, right? Like
Yeah,
it's just like relatively nothing known about them, which is creepier because they just show up at people's doors like, "Hey, let me in, man."
yeah. And I always love the detail of like people almost do it. Like every time they're like, "Oh, sure, I'll let
Yeah.
you."
The question is like, would you let them in just out of curiosity? Because I low key think I would let them in.
I guess I've said this before. Another thing, like where like I would be the person that dies in the first 10 minutes because I will always investigate the sound. Like I just
Yeah,
want to know. Like it's like oh yeah, there's a weird scream off in the woods. So I better go see what that is.
yeah. If somebody told me like there's a creepy monster over there, I'm probably gonna go try and find it. Now, if
Yeah.
they tell me there's a ghost, I'm not gonna go near that because ghosts, honestly, I'm shit scared Janet of ghosts, so I don't go near ghosts. I think there's just something about the like them being able to watch you and you don't know they're watching you that I don't like.
Yeah. Honestly, like I love ghosts. I saw one, so I think that's why I'm like obsessed.
You saw a ghost?
Uh-huh.
Have you spilled the beans on this yet?
I think I maybe mentioned it once, but it was like I was like 6 or 7, and I was like camping in the living room on the fold-out couch. Like me and my sister were like watching movies and stuff, and I wake up to her screaming, and there's this woman standing there looking at us, and she's like in a nightgown, and she's just staring at us, and like,
Ew.
and then she just vanishes from like top up, almost like a wipe, just like and gone, and freaked me out like, and so
That's
yeah, since then I've
terrifying.
been obsessed with like paranormal stuff.
When I was okay, so you told your paranormal story, so I'll tell mine. I guess it's
Yes,
only fair, right? So
yes.
when I was really young, I don't think this was a ghost. I'm not sure what this was. So when I was real young, I lived in Lima, Ohio, which is north of where I live now in West Virginia, and we had a two-story house, and like the neighbors were like right there beside us, like city living kind of, no real between. So I slept on the second floor, and my bed kind of like faced the window, sort of like I could roll on my side and see it. And I thought I saw the outline of somebody in the window. I was like, well, that's really weird because it's like second floor. And I got really curious because I thought maybe a street light is shining somebody's like reflection, or maybe it's a tree, and I kept hearing like this tapping on the window. So I was like, okay, I'll go look. So I like pulled back my little curtain and I'm looking and I get really close to the window and I get freaked out and just run back to bed. And then I'm like, no, surely that wasn't a person. That couldn't have been a person. So I get up and I open the window again and I get like super close, like put my face up against the window almost. And it goes like just like a quick wave. And I screamed and I ran to my parents' room and I jumped in bed because my mom worked overnights and my father he was asleep and he had kind of a rough temper. So I woke him up and I was like, "Hey, hey, hey." And he was like, "What?" And I said, I started to like second guess myself, like I don't want my dad to get mad at me for saying I saw some like woman. So I said, "What's 9 plus 9?" And he said 81. I for some reason I guess multiplication. And I went back to my bedroom and just like turned in the door and didn't look out the window and just went right to bed and hid under the covers facing the other way.
Oh, that is so creepy. I think the tapping on the window, that's so creepy to me.
Yeah, and I thought like the next morning, oh, it's probably a tree, but there was no tree between there. So I don't know if maybe something else was tapping and it was the shadow from a street light and they saw me looking out so they waved at me or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's stuck with me in like this mental image every time I go by a dark window. I'm like, oh God, oh God.
It's like it's waiting for you. Like this time
Yeah.
you're gonna get the clear image.
Yeah, right. When I oh this is so embarrassing. This is how scared I was when I was a little kid. Um, my friend Matt, I shouldn't name drop him because I haven't talked to him in years. Anyway, whatever, Matt, you're kind of a dick anyway. So the first time we met each other, he's a dick. The first time we met each other, he punched me in the face and I flew over to his coffee table. I was like 5 years old. Crazy. Anyway, too much information. So I told him about it and we were watching the movie Tales from the Dark Side. Have you ever watched that movie?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
familiar
love
with
that
it?
movie.
Okay. So you know the part where like the woman is like a dragon, kind of.
Yes,
There's another.
gargoyle.
Yeah. So we were watching that segment when I told him about it. And he was like, "What if that thing's like this?" And because you told me it's gonna come back and get you, and like I was so scared for like a
Oh
year to tell
no.
anybody else about it. I was like, I can't tell anybody else about it because what if it's actually him? What if it was actually him and he's telling me this is a warning? I can't risk it. No way.
See that? See now, like then I yell, "You promise!" and turn to a gargoyle on the screen.
I'll just go and log out real
Yeah,
quick
then you're
and
fine.
just
You're like,
go.
"Oh."
He doesn't know. And then you just send me a message on Twitter like, I've actually mailed you books before. Oh,
I'm pretty sure I can find you.
it's a picture of your like address book, and I'm in there. Oh,
I love the idea of how to have a physical address book too. I
like
have a
it's like
Rolodex.
a Rolodex. It's like a Rolodex. When Wendy Dalrymple always says she should have a Rolodex because we send each other books, and she's like, I hate asking your address all the time, so maybe we should just like Rolodex, get Rolodexes, and that would be the funniest thing ever.
I mean, honestly, because I feel like anytime I need an address, I just have to go through Twitter messages or emails because I don't, because I always move all the time, I feel like. So every time I send something, I'm like, well, they could have moved. It's been 2 months. Like I move all the time. Like,
I, I just mailed something out like as a surprise gift to somebody. Not you. Don't get your hopes up. I'm sorry.
oh,
To somebody and sent it to an address I had like 3 months ago, and you just made me so paranoid.
oh no.
Like I'm gonna like I didn't even put a return address on it because I'm an idiot. That's getting a rush.
It's gonna be lost in the ether.
There is another one of those parts. I am so sorry.
I'd
Why
love
do
to
I
hit it.
call them
I
parts?
barely hear it.
Oh, okay. Well, she's like right there, so I don't. Whatever.
Um,
What's the word I'm looking for? I don't remember. Anyway, carrying on. Sorry, I'm
oh, no
scatterbrained
worries.
today.
Um, well, hey, also you got. I feel like this is kind of like a big year as far as like new books. Like you got stuff from Hedon Press and Darklit coming out.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked actually at the amount of people I've convinced that I'm actually good at writing to put out some of
That,
my stuff. Like,
that-
especially, I can't, especially Heaton. They've been great. I'm doing a short story collection with them about one of my characters, the Fox, which some people might recognize from a couple chapters in Pub, but it's kind of expanded upon what she does, and I've kind of turned it and twisted it kind of into like if Clive Barker wrote a superhero comic, kind of like book,
sold.
not comic.
Yeah,
But
sold.
that's kind of what I was going for with that. Church of Skaten is a skateboarding horror book coming out next summer, I believe. And Bride of the Living Chad, which is kind of like my take on, I guess, the Bride of Frankenstein, but it's kind of turned into more of like a Lisa Frankenstein meets Death Becomes Her by John Waters type thing. That's going to be out, I believe, at the start of the year.
Oh,
So
nice.
everything will be kind of 2025 heavy, which I'm excited about because then I'll just have a year of coasting. And the
Yeah.
Pirates book, I can't forget about Pirates.
Yeah.
That comes out in September, actually, the 19th of the River Styx. So anybody who's been backing that, pick up mine, please, because it's Evil Dead on a pirate ship. And that's what's not to like about that, I think.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome. I need to pick that up because, like, pirate horror, just not a thing
Yeah.
I thought of, but like makes total sense.
Doesn't it seem like kind of a no-brainer that somebody would have came up with that at some point in time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I mean,
pirates were so hot for a while, and now they're just not. I guess I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. They like the Pirates of the Caribbean were huge, and they kept making sequels, but I don't know. I think it's time. It'll come back. Everything cycles.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And then next month I have Malignant coming out, which is kind of like a young adult. It's tying into my cryptid stuff. There's some cryptids in there, which you'll have to find out about. It's kind of spiraling off of Night of the Bubbies, my Easter book.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that, which will be fun. I hope people at least laugh. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what to say about my books. Giggle.
Well,
Don't don't throw it in the trash after page three, maybe.
yeah. No, like that's what I'd say. Like they're horror comedies, but they're bizarre and they have like a weird energy that just like sucks you in. Like your books are usually, I always finish them in a sitting because it's just like I don't know, you can't put them down.
Yeah,
They
nice.
suck
I,
you in.
I hella appreciate that. Like, I'm kind of weird about complimenting myself and getting compliments because I'm who I am. But yeah, I that's what I go for. Like, I'm not trying to win like literary awards. I just kind of want to distract somebody for an hour. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. But like you do it in such a way, I don't know. It's like it doesn't read like anybody else's. That's like when I feel like I read Pup and the one that you're re-releasing, the uh songs Christians don't have to say backwards. I think I'm
Yeah,
mangling the
stories
titles.
Christmas have to read backwards.
Story.
Man, I see everything's happening so fast that I've forgotten about even that. And that's one of my more favorite ones. That's coming out in November with Infested Publishing, which I'm stoked about. So
Yeah.
that that'll be different. Like if you've read it. So
Yeah.
there's a bunch of different like some of the stories I've changed because when I reread them, I was like that. Mm, some of it's a little rough around the edges, so I was like, I can polish that a little bit. It added 6 stories to the back half of it,
Oh, awesome.
so it's almost like a whole new collection at the back half, which I'm excited about.
And I love the cover. Like he did the cover reveal on Twitter and just it's fantastic.
Yeah, Laura killed it. Laura Cathcart, she does all the art there, and she just like absolutely nails it. She did my art for 51 as well,
Yeah, which
which I
also
think is
amazing.
wonderful. Yeah, I love how like cover artists now are just coming out of nowhere and just being like, "Here's this absolute banger, this really
Yeah,
cool cover." It's crazy,
and it's
but I
good.
love
Like
it.
yeah. Oh, sorry,
We
go
did
on.
that thing. We did that thing again.
Oh,
It was like grabbing the same piece of garlic bread at the
mhm,
pizzeria.
mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. I just like that like hand drawn book mainly. So I will always gravitate towards that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, it's human. There's
Mhm.
emotion and thought and feeling
Absolutely.
behind it, and it's not AI garbage.
Oh my God, the AI stuff is unreal right now, isn't it? If I start to like a cover, I look at it and I'm like, but is it AI? Are there spaghetti noodles in this? I can't tell.
Yeah, or the finger. Well, like my day job, I have to get stock images all the time, and like they even have an option on Adobe where you can do like exclude generative AI, but there'll still be pictures. It's like that slipped through somehow. Like
Clearly
everyone's
AI.
weird and polished, and it's awful. Like
That's a good way to describe it too. It's like everybody looks like they had like turtle wax ran across them
yeah,
in AI. Like all the faces are like very porcelain and smooth and weird.
yeah,
Not to mention like the fingers are like one extra finger here and like
yeah.
two over here. You're like, what is going on?
And everyone's trying so hard to make this a thing that happens. It's like, no, it's awful. Like it's always awful. It's never good.
It sometimes you see it and you're like, I can see how this would look good, but it's something about it just looks not good. Like
Yeah,
it could people even try and do it in certain styles where like make this in this style or this art style. And it's you can look at it and go, I guess technically that does look good. Like it looks like a picture, but it doesn't look good. Like
yeah,
something about it's just missing. Like, you just look at it and it feels hollow or very flat. I don't know how
yeah.
else to explain.
Yeah, 'cause I saw somebody do this shared like it was a tweet that was like that AI made them believe in the soul because they finally saw what soulless art looked like. It's like, oh, I guess the soul's real, and they were very upset about that.
I guess that's true though, because when I look at AI art, it just feels very it does feel very empty, doesn't it? You can look
Yeah,
at it and just go, that's not that wasn't done by a human. Like even stock like even some people who just take like stock images and put like a font over it, you can tell somebody made that kind of, as
yeah,
opposed to you look at this AI art and it just the hair looks like cooked fettuccine alfredo, and you're
yeah,
like, this just doesn't look right. Something about it, it's like it was all made out of gelatin. There's no like solidness to it.
yeah, yeah. Just ugh, ugh.
Can't take it. And there's oh, it's such a we probably shouldn't get into all of it, but it's such an epidemic right now. Like it's so hard to tell when an author puts something out now. You're like, oh, I really want to read this, but wait a minute, is that actually AI or is it not?
Yeah. I mean, I've had that happen where like stuff of mine was in something, and then you'll see the promo art. And it's like, wait, oh man, like now I can't share this.
Yeah,
Like,
or you're looking at the cover, you're like, that's a really good cover, but something is just like slightly off about that, and I don't know what it is. So you zoom in on one corner of it and see somebody's foot passing through a tree with seven toes. And you're like,
yeah,
oh,
yep,
I know now. Never mind.
yeah. I know. It's just, um,
It's not good.
no, no. Um, um,
How do we change the subject to something cheery other than
that's what I was thinking. I was just thinking. I was like, we went off on the AI thing, and now I'm sad.
now? What do we do? Now I just want to go lay down and cry.
I
Actually,
know. This is the state of
check
things.
check out my slipper.
See, that changed it, and that's awesome. It looks like a lobster.
Rock lobster. Do 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 do.
Yes, it's amazing.
I dropped it.
We have that. There we
Anyway,
go. I can go watch Godzilla
any
-1 again. I'll feel better.
oh don't we just cheered you up and now you want to go cry. Listen, when I went to the theater to see this to see minus one, it was there was a kind of an older guy sitting there with his teenage son, and that scene happened, and the guy kind of goes and like brushes his face a little bit, and his son goes, "Are you crying?" Like, and everybody started laughing. Nobody was sad
Oh
anymore.
no.
He just roasted his dad in front of 30 complete strangers.
Um, I think I was good until spoilers. I guess if you haven't seen -1, I was good until the moment where you think the one guy has kamikazed in Godzilla's mouth, and then when you find out he's alive, and you see the relief on the person that wanted him dead just like 10 minutes ago. It was
Yeah,
visibly relief. That was when I was like, oh.
yeah, it's such a gut clencher. I was gone. I was emotionally gone from the start. As soon as you found out he was a kamikaze pilot and the plane landed, I was just like, "Oh, this is a tough movie.
Yeah, yeah.
This is gonna be tough to get through." I mean, then Godzilla wrecked the shop and it was really badass for like
Oh yeah.
half an hour. But then I was like, "Oh yeah, now it's gonna be sad again, isn't it?"
Yeah, it did that really well. It was like almost like Godzilla shows up. It's like, okay, okay. Like,
Like a relief. You're like, "Oh, more Godzilla." Wait, and now I'm kind of connecting Godzilla to grief, and now I'm just really sad.
it is one of those
Which
like
is
I
kind of
love.
like that's kind of what the first one did, though, right? And like,
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about this, but I've been getting really irked by when I see people online like, "Oh, Godzilla minus one was so awesome. I don't need to see Godzilla Kong now." And I'm just like, why can't you just enjoy both?
yeah.
Like,
Like there should always be like silly fun Godzilla and then serious Godzilla. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
there's always been that. I don't like all of a sudden people like have forgotten because of Godzilla minus one that there were movies after Godzilla Raids Again. Like there were
yeah,
movies that came after that that were not the best. He fought Hedorah. Like, come
yeah.
on.
Like like I still love like, and I know like it's not one of the favorites, but Godzilla versus Megalon is still one of my like because I love that one so much when I was little.
Yeah.
Like it's still one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Did you have the VHS tape when you were a kid?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
I absolutely had that VHS tape, and I wanted one of those like duck tricycle that goes in like with the whirlpool. I
Yes.
wanted one of those so bad because I was like, how are the wheels so big?
I cause had that and I had Godzilla 85. And if you got Godzilla 85, it had Godzilla versus Bambi before it, and that was also amazing.
Yeah, I had that too. Oh my god, that movie was so great. That giant bug at the start always creeped me out really
Oh
badly.
yeah.
Like
And
I
it's
always felt like even now when I watch it, I feel like I could smell that bug. I don't know
yeah.
why.
Well, I mean, I think it's just because it's like it's right there. It just feels like this real tactile thing, and also I feel like the good Godzilla movie is where you feel a little sad when he dies, and 84, 85, whichever version you watch is like it's
Yeah,
heart wrenching. Like
it's really sad. I'm I'm probably gonna piss off a lot of people who like the subtitled versions of Godzilla, but I always like the dubbed versions because that's what I grew up on. Like
mhm,
if there's a new one, I'll watch. If there's new like Godzilla -1, I will always watch the sub. But even when I go back and I watch like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, I'm watching the dubbed. It's not good, and the dialogue is so off from what the original version was. But that's just what I grew up on, so it's like so like
yeah,
nourishing to me,
yeah,
nourishing to my soul to just hear like that bad dialogue that somebody is trying to pretend worked for some reason, and you
yeah,
know that that is not what they said.
yeah. Not even close. Like
Yeah,
um,
like the big one is 2000, Godzilla 2000. If you watch the subbed version, the dialogue is so much better, and then you look at it, you're like, wait, okay, this came out around the same time, obviously, as Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. So imagine that an American studio tried to make it look like the Japanese Godzilla wasn't as good as their Godzilla. What a
yeah,
concept!
yeah. Godzilla 98. I saw it so many times in theaters. I was a kid, but like watching now, I was like, man, they just ripped off Jurassic Park. Like the third act was just like, oh, we watched Jurassic Park right before we wrote the script. And even down
Yeah,
to
because it's
turning the door handles. I was like, you're just being pretty blatant right now.
yeah, because it's just like the raptor scene. Like as soon as
Yeah,
the babies come in, you're like, oh, I see what they're doing. These are supposed to be raptors. And but I loved it when I was a kid because I would have been 11. I was born
yeah.
in 87. Yeah, I would have been about 11 when that came out, 10 or 11. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever that I was able to just go buy new Godzilla toys
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
weren't like old movies. So I think I bought more into the hype and like the Taco Bell toys and stuff than the actual movie.
Which I think like that age, yeah, it absolutely does that. That's like people that were like the right age when like episode one came out, and now they're on the internet being
Yeah.
like, episode one's a great movie. It's not. It's not.
No. My
You can't
a
see
lot
through
of
your
my
childhood. And I get it, but
right. A lot of the students I just had this past year in school told me like Attack of the Clones was their favorite Star Wars movie. And I'd always just be like, Attack of the Clones, really? But for some reason, the thing that every age of Star Wars fan, except for me, can agree on is that the sequels weren't that good, but I think they were maybe better
yeah,
than all of them.
yeah, I won't. That's the thing. Like I did not enjoy Rise of Skywalker, but if you told me, you know what, you're gonna sit through episode one or Rise of Skywalker, it's like probably Rise. I just can't.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't like the last one because it felt very pandering to a lot of the fans who were upset about things. I
yeah,
did like the Last Jedi a lot, but
yeah, I love
I
that
know
movie,
that's
and
it's not
yeah,
a real popular one. But I kind of like the idea of like everybody can be a Jedi, kind of like wholesomeness to it.
yes, yeah,
But
and then like they're gonna undo that. It's like, no, you're one of two families.
yes. No, 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 no! Don't you dare think that you can't be. There's no such thing as privilege.
I'm J.J. Abrams. I'm here to say you need to know your place.
This is America. Only two families are going to succeed ever. If
Yeah,
you're poor,
you're
you're
born
poor.
wealthy, or you can
Sorry.
go fuck yourself.
Yeah, sorry about your luck, bud. You can't come from nothing, make yourself into something. No way.
and and I hate it because it has one of my favorite moments is where like the galaxy as a whole is just like, man, enough of this nonsense, and they just show up in their own little private ships with guns and take on the army. It's like that's a great
Yeah.
moment, and it's like,
If
but the rest
I,
of it,
I
everything
feel like they,
around it.
I feel like they could have just ended Star Wars when the kid came out of the like stables with his broom
Mhm.
and started and like didn't he like make it float or something? I can't even remember the
He like
moment
kind
I'm
of like
trying to
raised it up like it was a lightsaber. Like he brought it to him with the force, and he like raised it up like a
yeah,
lightsaber, staring
it
at the
could have just
galaxy.
ended. It could have just ended with that, and I would have been like, "Wow, that was great. That made it feel like Literally
I mean,
anybody can do
yeah,
this, and this is like an amazing thing. But then they were like, nope, sorry, sorry. Now I sound like one of those bitter people who thinks the women's Ghostbusters ruined Ghostbusters, which it didn't. It didn't. I actually think that version's maybe better than part two, at least. Not the
yeah.
first, but part two for sure. I'm
I
just
well,
ranting.
I still have some nostalgia for part two, but yeah, I recognize it's not it's not great, but
Yeah,
I still have some. Like I said, it's like the kids in your class. I think episode two is good. That's how I am with Ghostbusters 2. I saw it when I was 5, so what are you gonna
yeah, you're gonna
do?
love it. You're just gonna be in love with it. I probably thought about that age too, but I don't remember it that well. The thing I remember the most about the Ghostbusters was the cartoon.
Yeah.
That's what I always remember was and ecto coolers, of course, but I didn't really remember the movies until I got to be a teenager and rewatched them. And I was like, oh yeah, I have watched these before actually.
Yeah, I had we didn't have cable or anything, but we had like, when people would like, you had the friend with the VCR and they'd rent movies and they would record a bunch
Mhm.
of them onto one tape. So we had one tape
Yeah.
that was like The Burbs and Ghostbusters and like Batman. So I watched those all the time
Nice.
as a kid.
We had one that was Predator and Tremors 2, and I've never thought of a more badass double feature in my life. And we watched that thing so much that like the top part of it, the flip part broke off of it, and we were like, "This is such a bummer." Now what? Now what are
No,
we gonna watch? Now what are we gonna watch?
I need to rewatch Tremors too. It's been a long time since I've watched any of the sequels. I've gone back to the first one a few times.
It's so good. I really like part two. Part three, not the best. Part four, not. Honestly, all of them after part two are not the best. But
Yeah,
like the one that's in Antarctica or where like Alaska or something, and it's all sand when it's supposed to be snow.
I
Crazy.
have. I didn't make it that far. Like I didn't.
It's like spoiler alert: Burt Gunner dies eventually. I just ruined your whole childhood.
No.
No, you're so emotionally unattached at this point that you're just like, yeah, that
Like,
checks out.
yeah. I
That
mean,
checks out.
at some point, like,
Yeah. What were they gonna do? Make number 40 when he was like CGI? They'll AI him in. Is what they'll
yeah,
do.
like I'd bring Reba McEntire back. That's what they need to do to get this series back on track.
Kevin Bacon and Reba McEntire,
Yep, there it is. That's the movie.
like the huge budget reboot.
Well, they tried to do like when like around the time Ash vs Evil Dead came out, there was like a pilot with Kevin Bacon in it for Tremors. It was like going to be a series on AMC or something. And I remember
Yeah,
watching it, like it got leaked or something, and I watched it. It was good, and then it just didn't get picked up.
yeah. The trailer was cool. I remember that because I even remember the TV show that was based around Bird
Yeah,
that was on
on
Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. The cat is back.
Oh no. There we go. Special guest star.
And she's
And she's
no. I'd
gone.
rather try and knock this phone over than talk to you. And here she goes.
Oh god.
I'm gonna hold it with my hands. That's the ticket. It looks like I'm reaching out for an embrace. You can see her ear just past the
Oh yeah.
camera every now and again.
Oh man. So
Right.
one thing I really like about your writing is the horror comedy blend, and I've seen a lot of people try that and just doesn't always work out. Like, what is your approach when you write something like that? Like, blend those well and just make it work, make it funny. Like,
Um, well, I think I've just always kind of gravitated towards movies like that, and I really like movies, and obviously I can talk movies all day, but I've always kind of gravitated towards that trauma full moon type movie that's
mhm.
more tongue in cheek, kind of like the Bruce Campbell stuff from the 80s, a lot of the 80s stuff. I grew up watching a lot of Return of the Living Dead. Like, I watch it every other day. So I think horror and comedy kind of go hand in hand for me. I don't know if I could write one without kind of doing the other in a way.
Yeah,
It may not even be necessarily horror, more so there's just monsters that happen to show up every now and again. But yeah, I don't know. That's a question that I could reverse to you because you absolutely killed it with yours. Like, absolutely killed it. High strangeness is amazing. Like, it's
oh, thank
great.
you.
So how do you get into that headspace? What did you do?
um I think I would do. different drafts where I was like in one mind frame or the other. So like I would write it and it'd be you kind of a mix, horror and stuff, and then I'd be okay. Now I'm doing the horror draft. All I'm gonna think about is horror, how scary, how creepy, and beginning to end. And then like do the same thing with comedy. It's like okay, so what laughs can I ring out of these lines and scenes and stuff. And
Nice.
um,
Nice. Yeah, that would make a lot more sense to do than what I do actually. I just like sit down with my phone and just start typing, and then I have something, and I'd use my phone, and I've been like picked on about it some because it's silly to use your phone, but it's you text people so much. Talk on Messenger to so many friends that it's like my thoughts flow through that medium so much better because I didn't have a computer growing up. And
yeah,
I still don't. I have a laptop, so like, which is a computer, I guess, but I didn't have access to a keyboard my whole life, like easily. So I've gotten more used to that than I ever did a keyboard. But then I go back through and kind of polish up the kind of flow of consciousness. Kind of, it's almost like I think of it more as like trying to kind of turn into a character, especially in first person. Like I'm just literally writing out their thoughts or something,
yeah.
and then go back to polish it up in the second draft and third for continuity and all that boring stuff that I hate doing. But I think my mind just naturally leans towards that, and I don't know why that is, or what was in the water when I was growing up that made me kind of be that way. I'm very hyper, and as people can tell, I shouldn't have energy drinks, but I do. But I tend to just kind of gravitate to that type of thing. I even serious movies, I'm always kind of thinking more about the humor in them. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know.
Well, I'm glad that you gravitate toward that, guys. I'm a huge fan, and I can't
Thank you.
wait for 2025, or as we're going to call it, the year of Damien.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping, and hopefully the year of Elford too, because that stuff needs to be out there. Like absolutely, it does.
Oh, thank you. Well,
This is such
oh,
a sweet
awesome.
moment we're having.
It is. It's perfect, perfect moment to end on. We're gonna end on the sweet moment.
Okay, I'm reaching for something because I'm gonna fly away.
Oh no! Ah!